Hey everybody, it's Taylor here, just hopping in here at the beginning of this episode of the podcast. So, fun facts about this episode. It got lost for a while. The interesting thing about this episode is that it was recorded in person, which we usually don't do because we usually live far enough away that it doesn't make sense to try and record it in person. But I was in town at the time that we were recording this, and so we ended up recording it a different way. And the nature of that was that I could not find the recording again afterwards. But through a lot of searching and through diligent effort on the part of everybody and immense patience from others, I was finally able to get it, and we got it, and we talked about it. The consequence of it, though, is that the preamble news is a little bit outdated because we're talking about the upcoming Game Awards, which have long since passed, right? Like, it's been a while. But nonetheless, it's here. We found it. It's good to go. And I'm excited to get this done. So let's just hop back into it. All right, everyone, strap in. This is a cool episode. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to GC Squared. It's our podcast, and we're doing all kinds of cool things with the podcast, and we're here and we're talking about it, and it's great. As always, I'm joined by my good friend Garrett. Now, when Garrett isn't busy being an audio-only entity that I only know of intellectually, he's a person who's actually here in person. How nutty is that? Hey, Garrett, how you doing?
I'm doing well today, Taylor. It's kind of interesting. I'm having trouble looking you in the eye as we talk because of the fact that I'm not used to us doing this in person.
No, I'm with you, actually.
Which is weird, because when we have normal conversations and talk with each other, it's not an issue at all.
This is a normal conversation.
Is it, though?
No.
There's a glowing, strange entity in the middle of us.
I'm going to clip that. That's going to be, like, something we're going to have to use for advertising. There's a big glowing entity in between us. It's like, what does that mean? All right.
Truth.
Okay. Well, hey, why don't you tell me a little bit about video games? What's been going on in the life of you and video games and other stuff that you do with your spare time?
Sure thing. So, we got the Game Awards coming up in a couple of weeks, which is cool, because, everybody's voting for different things. And
I can't look you in the eye. This feels so weird. Guys, it's just that this is the first time we've recorded the podcast together in person when we're like in the same room. It's just wacky.
Yeah, like normally, because the whole time I'm looking at the computer screen, researching stuff, talking, whatever. But, and then like I said, like we hang out regularly and have normal conversations looking each other in the eyes. It's just, this feels so foreign.
This is so bonkers. Anyway, so the Game Awards are coming up. People are voting.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and we'll kind of see how those pan out. Gaming-wise, I'm up to my usual League of Legends thing. So Taylor and I are both involved in a tournament called the Progenitor League Circuit, which is a League of Legends tournament. So I've been playing games, and then we've also been doing, that tournament, and things have been going well there, so that's nice. Aside from that, I've been replaying a game called Ys 8 on my computer. That's been fun. It's a action RPG. I had Taylor try it out last night to see what he thought of it.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I had some fun with it. I imagine I'd have more fun with it from the beginning of the game onwards.
Yeah, fair enough. Starting at level 27 probably isn't as insightful about what's going on.
No, I was very confused, and I didn't like switching characters, but that's okay. Cool.
I actually really like how the character switching works in that game, because instead of like teleporting you back to whatever those character was doing, it teleports them exactly where you are on the spot, which I kind of like.
Mm.
Yeah, it makes it more seamless, in my opinion.
You know what they should do? They should do a version of Birth by Sleep where that's what you do. Like, they give you an option to switch between the 3 characters.
They would have to redo the entire story if they did that, because Birth by Sleep is all about them being separated and eventually coming back together.
Oh,
everything
no.
goes to crap.
Kingdom Hearts is going to have to come up with a convoluted story to explain something.
Oh, alternate timeline, no. It's not like that's how they got young Xehanort to be on their side.
It's not like how they were able to get like half of the games in that series together. My goodness.
What a series. Kingdom Hearts 4 got delayed, apparently. So.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, we'll see what happens there.
It's hard to know how bad that delay is, though, because we never knew when it was coming out.
Yeah, they never said. And then I've been playing Multiverses, been keeping up with that. They added Raven from Teen Titans into the game, and then they're also going to add Marceline from Adventure Time halfway through the season.
Okay. Neat.
Yep, so all good stuff. I haven't gone around to watching it yet, but Arcane Season 2's out, so I gotta get around to watching that too. Have you ever watched Arcane?
I haven't watched Arcane.
Ooh, okay, you should check out Arcane. It's, in essence, a League of Legends story on Netflix, just an animated series. It's super well animated, really, 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 really good story, and you don't need to know anything about League of Legends lore to understand it. Which is good, because despite me playing the game since 2012, I don't know much about League of Legends lore.
There is no lore.
There's a ton.
It's just whatever character you want to look into, that's your lore.
Here's the thing, because even though I've been playing League of Legends for a long time but don't know much about the lore, I've been thinking about starting a YouTube channel where I just read the lore and give my opinions on like different characters and stuff.
I'm always in favor of people starting a YouTube channel. I think it's a cool thing to do. I think it's a healthy thing to do. Start a YouTube channel.
Yeah, and then if I somehow ever run out of League of Legends content, I guess I could always read other video game stuff.
Would you ever, realistically speaking, right now, if you were to start right now and release a video every single day, how long would you go before you ran out of League of Legends lore?
If we're talking characters only, let's see, because every single champion in the game has their own page of dedicated lore. So, number of champions in League. 169 characters. So,
nice.
With that in mind, yeah. So with that in mind, I'd have at least 169 days of content, not counting all the other lore and stuff they've released over the years.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you can go on for a minute.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'd be covered for a while, and that's just a single video game in a sea of video games. So yeah.
All right. Well.
Ooh. Okay. I've also been replaying the Sly Cooper games.
That's right. You have been. I've been hearing a lot about your adventures as a raccoon.
From who?
You.
Oh.
We talk.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Also, your wife talks to me all the time.
Gotcha.
We're like best friends and stuff.
Hey, there you go. So, yeah, I beat Sly 1 really quickly. I'm on Sly 2. I'm over halfway through the game. I'm on episode 6 now, which is where you're dealing with John Bisson and you're trying to get the clockwork lungs.
Nice.
Yep. I'll finish that up, get to Sly 3, and then, yeah, that'll be that.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm. So, now that we've caught up on my gaming stuff...
Oh, is that all you had?
I guess, I don't know.
Well, we're not going to talk about the Game Awards?
Well, they haven't happened yet. It's just voting.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about some of that?
Let's at least look up the nominations for Best Game, because we talked a little bit about those, and I'd love to hear like some of your opinions on what's coming up. Especially since Best Game is weird this year, they're putting DLC and remakes in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's really weird, actually. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm pulling up an article for Game Rant, and we'll start with Game of the Year. And if we feel like going with the rest, we can. There's a lot of categories of Game Awards.
Yeah, so I'm really just curious about Game of the Year at this point.
Fair enough. Okay, so Game of the Year will include Astro Bot.
Winner.
Balatro.
Haven't played it.
Black Myth Wukong.
Haven't played it.
Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree.
Haven't played it.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
I played the first one a little bit.
And Metaphor Refantasio.
I haven't played it. Astrobot for the win!
If my heart were to decide who would win, I would pick Metaphor Refantasio. I haven't gone around to buying it yet, but I played the demo. Solid, awesome game made by the creators of Atlas. Made by Atlas, the creators of Persona and Shin Megami Tensei. It's a really, really solid, good game. And who do I think's going to win? I think either Black Myth Wukong or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to win.
I really hope between those two that it's Black Myth Wukong, just because I want to see it win on the basis that it's an original property that's not like...
Yeah, it's not riding the coattails of nostalgia.
Right. And as good as Final Fantasy Remake has been, it is built off of the back of its original being so iconic and synonymous with RPGs.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel very similar in that regard, where between those two I would want to be Black Myth Wukong. My bias says Metaphor Refantasio, but yeah. And then I wonder what your bias is. I wonder if it's Astrobot.
Astrobot for the win! PlayStation!
Well, get this. The exact same nominees are up for Best Game Direction.
Well, cool. So that's stuff for Black... When are the Game Awards? When can we talk about this again?
Yeah, sure thing. When are the Game Awards? They are December 12th, so in about 2.5 weeks on a Thursday, because Game Awards. I'm going to be at work.
I'm going to be at work.
Well, it looks like you and I aren't watching the Game Awards. I'll just have to look up what... I don't even care about the awards themselves, if I'm being honest. I just care about the stuff they announce between the awards.
Yeah, see, that's the big one. There's rumors that we're going to get a Kingdom Hearts announcement during it. It's either going to be that new mobile game getting ported to consoles, or it's going to be something about Kingdom Hearts 4. And
that'd be cool.
I'm really hoping for new Spyro content. I know that's kind of unlikely since Toys for Bob is kind of kaput now.
Well, I don't know if you've heard this, but apparently there's been rumors about there being a Spyro 4 in the making, so you never know.
I've heard rumors about that too, but it's just strange things are afoot at Activision.
You could almost say strange things are happening to me.
No, to Activision.
Oh. Strange things are happening to Activision.
Hey, Disney lawyers, we're so happy you came in to join us.
Yeah, because Disney's going to sue us. Do we need to mute my singing?
Taylor, think about editing that later. All right.
You know what would be hilarious, though?
What?
Is if future Taylor edited it, but only removed my singing bit and left everything else in.
Then I would have to insert some other, speech bit where I hop into the middle of the edit and say something like, due to the inappropriate nature of Garrett's singing voice, we opted to remove it in favor of me speaking in this soft yet comforting tone.
Just replace it with Garrett sang a Toy Story song.
All right.
Anyway, so with all that being said, when Taylor isn't usually finding different ways to spend money on audio equipment, he is usually involved in the comic book world. So, Taylor, what do you got comic book wise today? I got an email about you purchasing comic books while I was at work.
Why? Why are my comic book purchases linked to your account?
Didn't we discuss this before? I know we discussed it after a podcast.
Yeah, it was because I bought video games once at your local place.
Yeah, and it uses a specific third-party
And
vendor software.
I wanted to use your email so that you got the points.
But now every single time you use that third-party vendor purchasing software, I get email notifications about it.
Right, so now you know exactly how much money I spend on audio equipment and comic books.
Well, I mean, I wasn't informed about the audio equipment, just comic books.
So I bought a bunch of comic books today.
Yeah, I noticed.
For the universe at large, the Saturday prior to Black Friday is usually observed to be like Small Business Shopping Day.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that you're supposed to shop there and give them your business and buy some stuff for your family for Christmas. And I'm a huge fan of that. I believe in supporting small businesses just because it's not just like a business to these people. It's a passion. It's a dream. And especially there are very, very few corporately owned comic shops in the world. I can only think of one chain that like exists and is recognized nationwide.
What would that be?
Comics and Stuff, I think is what it's called. You have one in the mall here. You have one in the mall here.
Okay, gotcha.
But comic shops thrive off of being a small business.
Mm-hmm.
People start up a comic shop not because they know it's going to be a great monetary investment, but because they love comic books and they love the community. And so there was a big blowout back issue sale at the comic shop close to you. So I went there and I picked up a bunch of stuff. I got a lot of cool Superman covers I wasn't expecting.
Okay.
I got a lot of Spider-Man. I was able to find some issues of Spider-Man 2099.
All right, nice.
And I'm excited about that just because the first run of 2099 only had 42 issues in it.
Okay.
Which makes it fairly easy to collect all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be cool to have the full collection, even though I have all of it in trades.
I mean, makes sense to me because a lot of like comic book series go on for such a long time trying to collect them all and keep track of them all. Yeah, 42 sounds like a big number, but it's really not.
No, 42 is an easy number to collect for. I also picked up a few Spider-Girl issues. That was fun.
Okay, nice.
I got Spider-Girl number 100, and I picked up Spider-Girl number 6 because that was the reintroduction of Venom into that universe, and it was one of my favorite issues growing up, and I was excited to see it there in the back issue, so I grabbed it.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So apparently, out of curiosity, I looked this up. Action Comics had a 904 issue run of a series. And that's like one of the longest.
No, it's far beyond that.
Oh my.
I picked up issue 1076 last week.
CBR.com lied to me.
Well, okay. The lore.
Oh yeah, as a quick aside, the Game Awards stuff I read earlier was from a specific website. It was from...
You just hit the back arrow, buddy. If you hit back enough times, you'll get back to
Game Rant.
Game Rant. So, you run into something called volumes when it comes to comics.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to not really worry about these, but then they did. Basically, a volume is just any opportunity to officially, quote unquote, end the series and then start it back up.
Okay.
But they ended Action Comics at around whatever it was, 9 something.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started the New 52 where they put everything back to number ones.
Okay.
And that ran for 52 issues. And then they said, hey, we're sorry. We realized that we kind of canceled Action Comics and renumbered it a little prematurely.
Mhm.
Guess what? Those 52 issues are just continuing the story.
Yeah, sure.
It's all the same. So they added 52 to whatever Action Comics ended on, and they continued onwards up to 1,000 and on.
Oh, jeez.
And right now, Action Comics is a weekly. So
Okay.
it's releasing lots of issues very quickly, which is how we're up to 1076. Spider-Man has been weekly for a few times in its history.
Mm-hmm.
So it's close to 1,000 despite being, 30 years younger than Superman?
Okay. Dang.
Yeah.
1,000.
Yeah, the Action Comics got to 1,000 and everyone was excited about that and made a ton of money. It's a great book.
Hey.
And then after that happened, everyone else was like, oh, we want to get our books to 1,000.
Mm.
And so they've been finding all kinds of weird ways to justify 1,000. Like they released Amazing Fantasy 1,000 at one point. Amazing Fantasy only has 15 issues.
Oh.
Like in total. The 15th issue introduced Spider-Man, but it had 15 issues in total, never continued onwards, and then was given 1,000th issue out of nowhere just to boost sales.
Okay.
It was pretty good, though. The 1,000th issue. I read it. It was all right.
It was all right. It was fine. It wasn't 1,000th issue I read.
Yeah, it's just one of the many issues I've read at this point that was given the 1,000 number.
Mm-hmm.
What was really fun was there was a story that the Justice League did where they went to the future, and part of the gimmick was that they brought back the millionth issue of whatever book. So, Superman, Action, Batman, Detective, Wonder Woman, Justice League, they all have a 1 millionth issue out that you can get.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, they went to the future and got the millionth issue and gave it to us, and it was great.
That's kind of funny.
All right. So that's basically what's going on here. Outside of that, just doing the same YouTube thing I've been doing, getting some other comic books on a regular release basis as they come. Currently reading through 3 different omnibus volumes.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is Spider-Man 2099. Then I've still got the Marvel vs. DC one I'm going through. And then the Thrawn trilogy, Star Wars omnibus. So I'm keeping myself busy with reading.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good for you.
All right. So today we are talking. And what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about
a very, very interesting, almost controversial subject.
Is it almost controversial or is it controversial? Yeah, it's probably controversial. Yeah, we're going to talk about breaking the law.
Yeah. Cheating is stealing.
You wouldn't download a car.
You wouldn't break into your friend's house and steal their Lamborghini.
Do you have friends with Lamborghinis?
No.
We need to have better friends. I want a friend with a Lamborghini.
Then.
But then I don't have a friend with a Lamborghini. I have a Lamborghini.
Yeah, and you can be my friend with a Lamborghini. That seems like a win to me.
Only if you get one.
Yeah, good luck with that.
All right. So anyway, yeah, we're talking a little bit about pirating because piracy is such a hot button issue within both of these worlds here. Like comic books have been dealing with it for decades. Games have been dealing with it for decades as well.
Yeah.
And there's like so much going on with that and so many different reasons that happens and ways to look at piracy that we've actually wanted to talk about this for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, it's been a topic that's been on our mind for a while. We just never got around to it, so we figured maybe the first live episode we're doing might be the best time to bring it up. Why not?
Oh, is that why we chose it for this one, or did we choose it for this one because it just didn't quite fit the other ones?
We chose it beforehand, and then just happened to be this time.
It just happened to be that it was going to be the one we were in person for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Timing.
All right. All right. Well, hey, this is kind of a big topic to start with, but let's go ahead and delve into the history a little bit. Why not?
Sure thing.
So what about games? Like, how did game piracy really like come about and become popular?
All right, so game piracy is an interesting situation. So piracy was happening for games relatively early on.
Really?
The Atari, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
How long?
People would just make copies of games, share them with people, and pass them on. Like, especially on computers and stuff, you could easily just download, copy things, send it over. There weren't really protections against it.
Mm-hmm.
And as time went on, more and more companies came up with different ways to deal with piracy. To no one's surprise, Nintendo. Nintendo, when it released the NES, made it designed so you have to have a very specific chip in the cartridge. And if you do not have that chip, the game will not run on the system. So that made it so that you couldn't really run, non Nintendo officially licensed games on it unless you had a device to work around it. So, because of that, like you would see occasional bootleg games or workarounds for it, and like we wouldn't see so much piracy, but definitely bootlegs, workarounds early on in gaming. And then as CDs became more prevalent, that's when piracy really started taking off. People would find ways to make copies of CDs, share them with friends, and then companies had to keep developing workarounds to, prevent that from happening, like having the system check the game beforehand, developers putting in their own unique anti-piracy measures, which I have some funny examples to share later. Like there's some really good ones out there.
All right.
Yeah. You'll appreciate one especially. Anyway, so so that just kept developing, and then they would just find ways that you couldn't commonly play games to work around it. For example, PS3 fought it with Blu-ray. Like it's not exactly easy to
No.
to burn and share Blu-ray discs.
Well, I'm sure we're going to talk about emulation here at some point.
Oh yeah.
But like the PlayStation 3 is notoriously hard to build an emulator for.
Mm-hmm.
Like they put so much extra gunk into making a PlayStation 3 work that even developers, when they were making games, had a hard time just making games to work on it.
Yeah, to add to that, like just to put things in perspective, you can't use an HDMI, whatchamacallit? Oh. You can't use an HDMI capture card on a PS3 without using a splitter or some kind of converter to work around it. It'll automatically block it. It'll only let you record naturally if you use the AV cables.
Well, there's a lot of capture cards now that are able to work around it because it's been like 17 and a half minutes since the PlayStation 3's been out.
That's fair.
At least.
Yeah. And this is something we can go further into depth about later, but emulation has become very, very popular with video games over the years, especially for older games. And then while you don't really see as much piracy for newer games nowadays because of how easy it is to obtain them, you do still see it on occasion, but it's definitely not like as publicly known or as publicly accepted as emulation. But we can go more into that at a later point. So now that I've given like a quick overview about gaming, why don't you give a quick overview about piracy in comic books? Because I know you mentioned that it's been a problem for a long time.
Yeah. Ever since the photocopier, really.
Yeah, fair enough.
So like because like the culture around comic books for a very long time, and I've noticed it kind of die or at least this piece of it die off a little bit. Uh, Comic shops didn't order like a ton of copies of any given book.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a really popular book, they might have a couple of extra, but typically you had to get there pretty early if you wanted to get a copy of yours. And shops up didn't always used to reserve copies for people upon request. So it was kind of a first come, first serve. But that meant that there would be occasions where you're knee deep into this 12 issue arc and you're missing issue number 3.
Mm-hmm.
But Tanner McCowan down the street, he has issue 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go over to him, and the culture used to be that you would borrow, swap, trade, share, just whatever comics you had. And same was like baseball cards, right?
Yeah, but that's to be expected. We see the same thing in the used game industry, you know?
Yeah.
It's expected.
But then after like photocopying and scanning became a thing you could do, people are like, hold on, I could just take my friend's comic, I can photocopy the 22 pages, I can even skip the ads, and I just have the story. I can just read it. And that right there has become a big problem because now it's like a lot less people are trying to get out there and buy the comic because they know that Tanner down the street is going to get the issue they want, and he's totally chill with you borrowing the issue for 15 minutes, scanning it, and then giving it back.
Yeah. Because Tanner down the street, his parents are paying for it, so he doesn't care. He's not losing money.
Right. He doesn't care. But he is losing, not he is losing, but like the publishers of the comic are losing a lot of money. And it's been a major concern. As soon as the internet became a thing, it was like almost
worse, right?
It was almost immediately people have been putting their scans of their comics online for people to just hop in there and read. And if you hop on some of these sites, they'll show you the numbers of people who are looking at these. It's huge. Hundreds of thousands of people not buying the book, but hopping online to these very easy to find sites and just reading them there. Brand new releases, even. Like it's so easy to just hop in there and watch them. And this has been a major point of concern for especially the independent comics, but particularly the big two, Marvel and DC. They've been trying to fight against this for years without any success.
I mean, it's kind of hard to fight against that because how do you police that, you know?
Well, for some places, like I know that on YouTube, if you're big enough, they will claim any kind of art that you show off as a copyright infringement.
Oh, fun.
So they dissuade that. But like these sites, there's a couple of them that are constantly getting comics uploaded to them. Hundreds of thousands of images of comics, and it's like nobody can chase down where they are. They change their location all the time. And even if you can, you know, how many people have gone on there and saved that comic before you saw it?
That's why, even though it's not literal, that's why people say once it's on the internet, it's there forever, because odds are somebody made a copy of it and will just re-upload it.
Yeah. And that's been the problem they've been facing with it.
We even see that with YouTubers when they delete videos. People will.
Yeah, somebody has saved the embarrassing video that you deleted, and it will find its way back somewhere.
Someone has made, like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's people out there that literally archive the videos of every single one of their favorite YouTubers, all their videos, just in case something happens, they can still watch and share that content.
Yeah. Which, I mean, there's something to be said for keeping a backup. I have a backup of every video I've made.
Yeah, backups, and I think that'll be an interesting point to cover here in Piracy as well is the importance of backups, I think.
Yeah.
Like how that's implemented. Because I think I have an interesting opinion in that regard.
Well, I know I definitely have some interesting thoughts on that. Back in the 1950s, this was nuts. When we've talked about how there was like a big comic book censoring in the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
There is still a blacklist of comics that have not been able to be found since then.
Mm-hmm.
We know that they existed. We can see the evidence of their existence, but we haven't been able to find them. The few we've been able to find, though, pirates.
Mm-hmm.
Pirates just happen to have copies. And so, like, I'm sure there has to be instances where, like, lost games. I know there's betas of games that exist because pirates found them and were distributing them. And even in early film history, the first two narrative films in filmmaking history, we don't have the originals. We only have copies that pirates took.
Gotcha. So there is an interesting aspect of like pirates and emulation leading to game preservation.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Comic preservation. Yeah. Which, that brings an interesting element to it where it's almost like not my place to say what's morally right or not, but just to use the technical term, almost a vigilante type situation. You know?
Vigilantes?
Yeah.
We're talking about vigilantes now?
Yep. Where they're vigilantes, where what they're doing isn't following the law, but people would consider for the greater good. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You know, the preservation of art and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think for me at least, one of the most entertaining things I've found with gaming piracy is the anti-piracy methods that game developers will put into their games.
Yeah, let's talk about some of them. I know there's one in Batman.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I bring up. Batman Arkham Asylum.
It's like, I can't get past this part. What's up?
Yeah, so what happened was there was a guy that he was trying to play through Batman Arkham Asylum, and there's a glide move in the game that allows you to glide using Batman's cape. I believe that's what it is, right?
He actually calls in a helicopter.
Oh, it's a helicopter.
No, he glides. Play the game. Play the game. It's easy to get a hold of. Play the game. It's really, really good.
I can literally see my Xbox 360 from here.
Gosh, that would be so fun. First time I played it was on the PS3.
Nice.
And it was fun playing that on like its original hardware. Anyway.
So it's a glide ability and it just doesn't activate or work. So every time you try to glide, you just plummet to your death. And it makes some parts of the game impossible to proceed in. So there was one guy, he hopped online and he was complaining all like, what's going on? My game's broken. Every time I try to get past this keeps happening. And then one of the game developers responded with something along the lines of, oh, well, if you purchased a legal copy of the game, that wouldn't happen. So that's how people found out about that piracy, that anti-piracy method.
Well, I think there's another one where like, isn't there one in the Lara Croft games where
probably
like it's another game-breaking event where you can't get past a wall or something?
Yeah, I don't know which one it would be specifically. Is this one of the remade ones, or is this one of the original?
I don't know. I'm just thinking. I'm just trying to think of. I've heard of one.
Gotcha. I have other examples that are kind of fun.
Yeah, sure. So.
Yeah. So, did you know there's actually some in Sly Cooper?
Okay.
Yeah. So in Sly Cooper, 30. So what happens is the game, every single time there's a cutscene, will scan and check whether or not it's pirated. This includes the Sucker Punch logo at the start of the game.
Okay.
So odds are it's going to detect it right away. And have you played through the first Sly game?
Not the first one.
Okay. So, 30 seconds into it, you will randomly have the climbing function with the circle button not work. 2 minutes into the game, it will be completely disabled. making many parts impossible. And then also, the van's acceleration for the racing minigames will be capped at a very low amount, so you can't you can't win the race. And then the hover blaster's cannon won't work at all. Um, every time you die, there will be a 20% chance that each of the clue bottles you collected will suddenly be uncollected.
No.
And that's not like 20% chance to lose them all. It's each bottle has a 20% chance.
Oh no.
And then they also have a 20% chance every time you enter a level for them to be invisible.
Shoot.
Just funny troll ones. And then like there are other ones that are really funny, like the game Alan Wake, which is a horror game about a rider.
Oh, doesn't that give you like a pink scorpion or something?
Oh, you're thinking of Mad Max.
Mad Max.
I think it's Mad Max. Which game has the pink scorpion?
I don't know. You're the gaming expert. I'm just here.
Serious Sam 3, that's what it is.
Serious Sam 3 has that one has like a pink scorpion that chases you.
A giant pink indestructible scorpion that just chases you and kills you. But the funny thing about that,
it's become a speed running category.
Yeah, people speedrunner will do challenge runs where they're trying to beat the game while being chased by this pink scorpion, which I think is hilarious. Like, that is a great anti-piracy method, in my opinion.
That's the kind of anti-piracy method, though, that makes people want to pirate the game.
But I think it's fine. Like, if they've played through the game, then they later find out, legally, and then later find out about it, they're like, oh, I'll go get I'll go get a pirated version for this. That sounds hilarious.
Okay. Gotcha. We were talking about the pink scorpion.
Yeah, so there's that. And then another fun one is Game Dev Tycoon.
Okay.
Where in that one you become a game making company and make your own video games. Well, if you're pirating the game, at some point in the game you will get a message saying you are starting to lose profits from people pirating your game.
Oh no!
And it will keep happening and keep getting worse until you become bankrupt and it's impossible to continue in the game.
Oh no!
The irony.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. Like, piracy, it affects everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It hits the indie developed games and the indie developed comics like hardest. That's these are people who started these projects without any money anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely those that get hit the hardest. But funny enough, I feel like indie devs don't face it as much nowadays. And I think Gabe Newell put it best, honestly.
Oh, who's Gabe Newell?
The founder of Steam, aka Valve.
What's Steam?
The most popular platform for PC video games.
Oh. What's a PC?
A personal computer.
Oh. What's a personal?
Something that's yours.
Oh.
Yeah, anyway. I tried to pull up that specific quote. It's really interesting. Let's see here.
If it's the quote I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm. All right. We think there is a fundamental misconception about piracy. Piracy is almost always a service problem and not a pricing problem. If a pirate offers a product anywhere in the world 24/7, purchasable from the convenience of your personal computer, and the legal provider says the product is region locked, will come to your country 3 months after the US release, and can only be purchased at a brick and mortar store, then the pirate's service is more valuable. So that's what Steam has built itself off of, is making games as accessible as possible, because that cuts back on piracy. For example, why would you pirate Psychonauts to play on a PS2 or an Xbox emulator back in the day when you can just spend $10 to get the official version on Steam and it'll run better?
Yeah. Like you have the guarantee of the developer itself saying this will work.
Yeah, and having their support with updates or any bug fixes and things like that.
Yeah, that is totally good. Yeah. And on my end here with comics, I think probably the thing that's helped the most with this the people who are trying to collect the books for collecting's sake, they're not pirating.
Oh, yeah.
They're buying off of the secondhand market anyway. It's the people who just want to read them that are concerned with piracy. And both Marvel and DC have come up with something of a Netflix type system where you can buy into the service every month and you just have the entire library of comics for free. Well, for that price, I should say.
Yeah.
And you can hop in there. All right. What was I saying last?
You were talking about the
the service.
comic book streaming service.
Yeah, so like they have those, but kind of interestingly, it's only made the pirating problem easier.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. How so?
They're just images.
So people are just
I don't. Images. There's no code to have to copy to make it work. It's an image. I buy into the service. I have all of Marvel's whole library ahead of me, and I also have the take screenshot button.
Yeah,
and I could. I'm not saying I do this. Marvel, don't come after me. You can just screenshot them as you go along, and the result is that the quality of the pirated comics has gone way up.
True, they don't have to scan it anymore.
No, they don't. It's just you get it directly from the source, and now it just looks cleaner on the site. However,
is it less convenient though?
No, that's the thing. It is way more convenient just to get the service.
Yeah, because instead of trying to trudge through websites and hoping they have the comic book you want, you just go straight to the service. So I'm sure some people will purchase it and stick with it just for the convenience.
Yeah.
That's what you see with Steam and online stores. That's why so many video game companies have swapped to online purchases, because people like the convenience.
So I'm trying to look it up real quick right here. Here it is. This, I think, is probably the real comic book equivalent.
Okay.
So the University of Chicago has this excellent computer science program, okay? And they invented a secondary layer that you can put on top of any image that makes it so AI can't recognize it and can't use it for its learning model.
Okay, so an anti-AI metric.
Yeah, because that is the other concern that a lot of artists in the comic book world are having, is that my art is now training AI, and all of my art has already been training AI. I had no idea, to be able to draw like me.
Yeah.
And that's been giving a lot of people a lot of anxiety, and people have even called out the big two for images that looked too AI generated.
Okay.
And gotcha. they would point out, this hand looks wacky, the proportions look wacky, how come this part of the costume is duplicated? And they've been calling them out, and that's great. But something like this, I think, is what's going to be really key for preventing piracy in kind of a different sense. People's work is now up for grabs, but with tools like this that block AI learning models from being able to recognize or understand images, that protects artists' interests as far as their work and their style being mimicked in an unhealthy way.
I gotcha. Yeah, and what's really, how I phrase this? Yeah, because you're naturally going to say that. So, it's interesting how now you have these big companies through AI committing piracy.
Yeah, it's gone in the other way. The big corporates are the ones who are committing piracy with AI. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Power to the people.
Yeah. But it's but I find it so interesting that despite that, we can still notice when it's an AI image because stuff is off majority of the
Yeah, stuff is always going to be off.
time.
And here's the thing, even if you did put it through an AI and you wanted to make sure that the stuff wasn't off, you'd still have to give it to an actual artist.
Mm-hmm.
And the actual artist is going to have to do something with it, which is why I don't think AI art generation is something to be scared of,
Mm-hmm.
even for artists. I think it's another tool that needs to be used and understood.
Yeah, I getcha. My biggest thing with AI art is I can understand people being concerned about the plagiarism, so I respect people in that regard. I will stand by the fact, though, that I think AI generated art and music related memes is hilarious. If it's for meme non monetary purposes, I greatly support it.
There's been some fun stuff that has come out of that.
Yeah, like people AI image generating hilarious stuff. Like, thanks to AI image generating, you can now generate like celebrities fighting each other as like different video game characters. My brother's done that where he's put in like Owen Wilson as Naruto and gotten really funny results.
One game I loved to play with a chatbot was I would give it like really not made for family viewing stories and have them turn it into like a kid's show. One of my favorites is I took Watchmen. Do you know Watchmen?
Yeah, I know Watchmen.
I took Watchmen and said, recreate Watchmen in the style of Blue's Clues. And so it took this huge political drama with all kinds of everything going on and retold the story as if it was like a kids show, like a preschool kids show.
That's really
it was so great. I loved it. Or my favorite one was I put in just the Spider-Man origin.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, but then when Peter Parker went home, he found out that Uncle Ben got hurt really bad. I was like, well, shoot, Uncle Ben.
He got hurt really bad, huh?
He got hurt really bad, and Peter felt really guilty about it.
Because he got mad.
So he became Spider-Man because he didn't want his uncle to get hurt. Oh, no.
That's great.
That was a popular one. Anytime someone died, it would just be like, oh, and then they got hurt really bad, and it made main character sad.
Or like the AI generated like comics that like they try really hard to be serious, but they end up being hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, there's that famous one with Batman fighting Joker, and it's all like Batman looked around the room looking for his parents and couldn't find them.
There's that's the thing. Like you always need to have humans there. I it looks like it could be scary, but AI is never really going to take the place of humanity.
Yeah.
It can look like it's going to, but it will never do it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, message of hope for the universe.
There is a stretch of human element that makes it hard for AI to completely take over, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's never going to be 100% right because there's so much context and nuance you have to consider in the human language and in human imagery, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like people can tell.
Yep.
And it almost doesn't matter how good it is. People will find like the tells for it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of the movie Westworld?
I don't know that one.
So Westworld is cool. It was the first movie to ever use a computer-generated image in its production.
Okay.
Released in the late 70s. And the idea of it was this big theme park that had different historical lands that you could go visit, and it was for adults to just go in there and experience.
Okay.
And Westworld was the Wild West one.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the AI robots goes rogue and tries to off the humans. And the humans can't tell who's a robot, except you can always tell by looking at the hands because the robots just still can't get hands right.
Okay.
And that's AI.
Funny how that works, huh? They can never. Well, it's because hands are so hard to draw.
Well, I can tell you the answer for the reason why.
Why is that?
So, Jim Lee is one of the greatest comic book artists in history. He was president of DC Comics, but uh, I think he retired from that.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the day, he worked on X-Men. He did only a couple of small things there. He invented Gambit.
Nice. I love Gambit.
But
he may not be Catholic, but he's still cool.
No.
Instead, he's just Cajun.
Did you see the new mascot, the Catholic Church Unleashed, though?
What? Is that an actual thing?
Look up Catholic Church mascot Luce, Luce.
Luce?
Officially from the Vatican.
What?
Ladies and gentlemen, the new face of Christianity.
I'm so confused.
I love her so much.
Why is this a thing? What?
She's very cool. She's very Catholic. Just accept it.
They should have just made Nightcrawler the official mess.
Oh my goodness, say less. That's what I want. Actually, here's what I want. I want, in Vatican City, I want gargoyles of both Nightcrawler and Daredevil. Just on the roof of a church somewhere, just overlooking the city. That'd be awesome.
Just the concept of the Catholic Church having a mascot just catches me off guard.
I love her so much. Anyway, it's for the audio listening audience, which is literally everybody. You should definitely look her up. She's fantastic.
She is a fantastic design.
She's a blue-haired anime girl. And her whole character design has tons of symbolism in it. It's really neat. They put a lot of thought into it. And the idea behind her is that she's supposed to help promote intergenerational conversation.
Okay,
but people have been memeing on her, but in like a positive way. Like there was a Comic-Con where someone went dressed as her, and she was like going around and blessing people dressed as paladins. And it was awesome. Anyway, that's our regular discussion about how people are cool and Catholic.
Yep.
Where were we before Nightcrawler? Before Gambit? Oh, Jim Lee. Hands. That's right.
Yeah, hands.
So I was watching an art tutorial from Jim Lee, and he said that the reason why your hand is so hard to draw is because everything in the world can be broken down into circles and squares except for hands. Hands are pentagon.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's one side, two side, three.
Four.
Yeah,
that's 5.
It's a pentagon. And he said once you can draw a 3D pentagon, then you can draw hands.
Okay, so that's the trick. So how do the fingers work? Are the fingers?
The fingers are rectangles.
Yeah, fair.
Fingers are rectangles, but your hand,
with a curved one at the end.
Your hand just doesn't work as a rectangle. It's a pentagon.
So is the reason then why people don't have as much trouble drawing feet is because they're triangles?
Mayhaps.
Because that's what I've always been told is hands are way harder to draw than feet.
Yeah, and that's one part of it is because you're constantly seeing your hand, so you know very intimately what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's a pentagon.
Okay. So that's interesting though. So that's the trick though to drawing hands is just learning how to draw a 3D pentagon.
That's what Jim Lee stated about it.
You do have to adjust the sides so it's not going to be like a perfect shape or anything.
No, but like if you can draw a pentagon, you can draw a hand. Anyway, that was his advice to artists, and I've changed a few people's lives with that tidbit of information.
It's helped them a ton.
It's been one of my favorite things to share.
Okay, nice.
Like back when I was doing the comic book workshop, I remember somebody showed up and I brought that up in the middle of the workshop and they're like, that makes so much sense. And then they tried it and they're like, it looks like a real hand. Oh my goodness. And then we were advertising on campus, right? And they showed up to help.
Mm-hmm.
And they made that a major point of why people should come. They're like, you should totally come because they share all kinds of cool ideas about how to make comics. They taught me how to draw hands.
To be fair, that is probably a solid selling point since that's a struggle for many artists in general.
Yeah, like it was very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that it meant so much to them. Made me feel good.
That's good. Yeah, so we continue to see, anti-piracy methods happen in like games and stuff. They don't happen as much as they used to now, just because I feel like the digital market, funny enough, even though the digital market has made things harder for comic books, I feel like it's made things easier to avoid piracy for companies.
Yeah. Well, because like I said, with games, you have to copy code, and you have to have you as the piratee needs to have an emulator or some kind of software to play it, or to at least know how to burn it onto a disk if it's a disk-based thing.
And even if it is disk-based, they have so many safeguards to prevent you from being able to use it. I think one of the only systems that was notorious for not having very good safeguards was the Dreamcast. It just used a basic CD with bare minimal protection, so it got so much. I remember I knew someone that owned a Dreamcast but did not own a single official Dreamcast game because they would rent them from Blockbuster, burn it to a regular CD, and would play completely fine. No edits or changes needed.
Golly, that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like on the other side, on my side of this table, because we're actually sitting on other sides of a table.
Hey, looky there.
It's so wacky. We're like here in person.
Wow, something like that.
We're here together. If you have the only hardware you need to thoroughly enjoy a comic book is eyeballs.
Yeah, true.
Not even eyeballs. You can do it with one.
Mm-hmm. And even if it isn't a great scan of it, you can still read and understand what's going on.
Yeah. So it's like that one's been. That's a thing.
Sounds like a media skill issue. Medium skill issue.
Yeah, well, it's like, yeah, you can't do much more than that. Ebooks are pretty good at not getting pirated, but that's because it's a whole other kind of file.
It's a file associated, like, it's not as easy to just download and rip audio files as it is. Like, you can, but it's not as easy as an image.
Well, like ebooks, like ebook is a file. PDF is a different file.
Yes.
So you can't just download something that's on the ebook file, but you also have a lot less control over like zooming in and zooming out and that kind of thing as well.
On top of that, ebooks are usually so cheap anyway, people aren't going to bother pirating it, you know?
Yeah, but that's the funny thing is that like people have pointed out that comic books have been getting progressively more expensive. And a big reason for that is that people are pirating them so often that to try and make back the money from them being pirated, they charge more.
Yep.
I want to read this comic. Cool. I have to pay for myself and like the 3 people who didn't buy it. And that is really frustrating is because like I think I've talked to you about it before. I don't know if it was on the podcast. Comic books don't make money. Characters in comic books make money. Comic books themselves don't make money.
Yeah, isn't that why comic books like rely on other mediums to keep the business going?
In a lot of ways they do. And you'll notice also that like the only independent comics that make it big are the ones that get like TV show adaptations or movies built out of them. It's not an easy business to go into. So you make a comic book and then people start pirating that comic, you're not going to see any money from it. You're barely going to see any money from it anyway if everyone buys it legally.
I would say the funny thing is that while the big companies really struggle with this, I feel like it's not as big of an issue for indie comic developers that are using like webtoons and stuff like that. You don't really see people pirating those, you know?
Yeah, nobody really pirates webtoons. And I think that does come from the. We've talked about how in video games, anyway, pirating is a convenience issue.
Yes,
It's a convenience and service issue.
correct.
In comics, it's a convenience, service, and pricing issue.
Okay.
Price does play a large part into it. Webtoon is free.
Yeah, you can read comics for free.
And even if it's a premium comic, you can still hop in there and read it for free like a week later.
Exactly.
It's not a big deal. And so then also the other part of it is that there's a lot of people who make comics that just aren't big enough to be worth pirating. I have a friend who is making a consistent comic strip. It's called Teal and Pals. It's about these anthropomorphic lions who just go around and live life in an anthropomorphic world as anthropomorphic lions. It's really cute. She doesn't get enough readers to even have to remotely think about what if someone pirates this.
Exactly.
Heck, at that point, pirating could only help her get more publicity.
Yeah, that's true. You have to be a really big company for piracy to affect you when it comes to comic books.
Well, you don't have to be really big. You just have to. There is just a threshold to where it's not a concern.
Yeah.
But once you get to that threshold, then it does become a concern. Because, like I said, if your whole market is based off of selling this comic and people are handing it out for free, there's your entire business.
That's true. And then I guess with the indie business doing it online, they're not selling it. They're just making money via ad revenue of people reading it on the website.
Yeah.
Or paying for the premium thing to get it a week early. And at the end of the day, people are going to find that so convenient. And like, because there's no physical medium for it, why would you bother pirating it?
Well, you know, the one thing I find wacky about a lot of webtoons, Space Boy is a great example of this because it's probably my favorite one that does this. They will give you all of the chapters available for free on Webtoon. Just go ahead and read to your heart's content. But they will republish it as a book that you can buy on Amazon.
Oh, yeah. Once it's like finished and they're able to compile it, or they're able to do like a big compendium for it.
Yeah. And people still buy that because by that point, like, you want to have the physical copy. It's fun to have, and it's fun to support them in that way. But on top of that, you go see any of these artist stores, the big ones that made it big on Webtoon, and it's full of t-shirts, it's full of plushies, it's full of alternate ways you can interact with the characters and still pay the artist something. Like I said, characters make money, comics don't.
Yeah, that's why we see a lot of profits from like movies or action figures or TV shows or blankets or any other merch.
Yeah.
You know? That's what brings in the profits for these. It's just about creating the comic books and the storyline to spread the word. Yep.
And if you look at it that way, then you can almost look at piracy as just free advertising.
Yeah, true.
But it really depends on like what your base model is like. And frankly, though, if you're an artist who's commissioned by another studio to draw a comic, you're making money off of that commission.
Yeah.
You're not making money off of. Just because I bought a Superman t-shirt doesn't mean that the current guy drawing the character gets any royalties from that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So because of that, like, it's funny because the bottom line that's being hurt from comic books is more so the big corporate heads as opposed to the artists. Because like you said, the artists are getting paid a salary or a commission or something, right? Instead of actually getting the royalties because the companies, funny enough, due to their greed, don't want to run the risk of having to pay them more money in royalties.
The big concern that creators have in pirating, I really do believe, is just what AI can do. But I mean, there's a responsible way to do that, and there's an irresponsible way to do that, and that could be a whole other kind of conversation right there.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But we already talked a little bit about AI.
That's interesting. And then with gaming, emulation has become extremely popular for old games that aren't sold anymore.
Well, I have a couple of friends
Mm-hmm.
that really, really, really love this one game.
Yeah.
It's called Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
And it's really, really, really,
people.
it's really, really, really easy to play Ocarina of Time in a gajillion different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, it's also really cheap to get.
Yeah.
You pay for the Nintendo subscription, however much that costs, $15, $30.
It's $50 a year.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know, right?
$50 a year. So you pay $50 a year and
Which
you
is
split
like
it up with all of your friends and you can play
$5 a month.
you can play Ocarina of Time 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
Or, if you have a 3DS, it exists there.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a Nintendo 64, it exists there. If you have a GameCube, it exists there. It's not a hard game to get.
Exactly.
So I don't imagine many people care about pirating it because it's easy to get
Mm-hmm.
and it's convenient to get.
Exactly.
However, I also have a couple of friends who have a game they really, 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 really like.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to play it legally, you have to buy really obscure consoles or shove out $400 just for the physical copy of Skies of Arcadia.
I mean, to add to that, as we've talked about before, one of my favorite PS1 games is Kudelka.
Yeah.
I had to drop over $200 to get a physical, legit copy of that game because not only is the game rare, but it's 4 discs.
Yeah, and here's the thing though, like you pay that much money, you're in the game store, you're pulling out your card, and I don't know about you, but for me, the whole time I'm pulling out my wallet and pulling out the card, I'm thinking Project 64, Project 64, Project 64. Like or Dolphin,
Yep.
there's I'm thinking about there's so many ways I could play this game for free. What am I doing?
But there's something special about having the original,
There is.
I think that's where collecting comes in.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I think the people who collect are going to collect.
Mm-hmm.
They want to have the game for reasons outside of just playing it.
Exactly.
And so they will. Those reasons are worth enough to go out there and try to get it.
Mm-hmm.
But my main concern isn't about just having the game. It's about this is a game that can bring opportunities to people. Like this, I'm a crazy romantic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there is a comic book in the world for anyone that will change their life.
Okay.
And I think the same can be said for games.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere out there is the game that's going to change your life.
Yeah.
And I hate the idea that you're never going to find the game that will change your life because it costs $500 to play it legally. And that's my big concern here is that Ocarina of Time, yeah, it's easy to play that.
Mm.
It's really easy to play that.
Yeah.
It's also really, really easy to play Skies of Arcadia.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to hop online and download it.
Yep. Download Dolphin Emulator to do it, but then that's where the legal
that's the problem. And it's like, it's for games especially, I don't think comics have this much of a problem anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They used to, but not anymore.
Yeah.
Ever since people have started putting their whole publishing library on apps ready to go, and they're always going back into the backlog and adding more and then whatever else. It's not an issue. Comics issue.
Nice.
That's not a problem. For games, it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of games out there that just don't exist anymore, but they could.
Mm-hmm.
They could come back. And the piracy, I think, in a lot of ways, allows that dream to exist when companies, for some reason, won't let it.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I remember that. Okay, to kind of put things in perspective, it's a struggle when it's an old game that the company is not going to lose money on, but it's still heavily discouraged, and there could be legal ramifications for pirating it.
Well, what was It was an Alice in Wonderland game.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Okay. So, what happened was there's a game called American McGee's Alice, which is like a horror adult take on the Alice in Wonderland story. And he eventually got a sequel called Alice Returns, Madness Returns, that came out on PS3 and Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Now, something interesting they did was when they released those games on PS3 and Xbox 360, you could either pre-order it or pay money to get the original version playable on those systems. However, it was digital only. And on top of that, it also eventually got delisted for legal reasons.
Yeah.
So now there is only one legal way to obtain the game, which I ended up doing because I recognized it was a finite source.
Mm-hmm.
You ready for this insanity?
What'd you do?
Let me show you. Because I can't just buy the physical release of American McGee's Alice and get it to run on my computer. It's designed for hardware made back in 2000.
Yeah.
It's not going to run on a modern Windows 11 or Windows 10 or anything modern like that. So, this is what I had to do. To get a legal copy of the game, I had to go to GameStop.com.
Okay.
And I had to purchase Alice Madness Returns, the completed collection, PCEA app for $30. Then I had to wait a day after spending that money for GameStop to verify that they still had a code for it, send me a code, then use that code in the app to activate it so now I can legally play the original American McGee's Alice through Alice Madness Returns. And this is only available in the US, and it is currently the only legal way to obtain this game that was made in 2000. And it's not going to be there forever. Eventually, GameStop will run out of codes for the game. When that happens, it's gone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then, like, also, didn't the publisher of that game or the creator of it try to get the rights back?
Yeah, so that's a challenging situation. So the creator of the game is American McGee. You want to know what the best part is? That's not an alias. That's his actual name.
My man.
A really cool name, American McGee.
Okay.
So, American McGee, he was the lead developer that made the game, made the sequel. It didn't sell up to EA's expectations. So, because of that, EA still owns the rights to it. And American McGee has been trying to purchase it from them. And EA just made a standard statement of, the Alice property is very important to us, which is why we feel the need to hold on to it. Yeah, it's so important you haven't done anything with it for over a decade.
Yeah. And that's like and that's an instance where let's like people get so caught up, and when I say people, I'm talking about like the big corporations. They get so excited about holding on to rights for things that they don't think about how they could be making more money by leasing these out even or by selling them back. If you're not going to use it, you might as well sell it, and then you can pocket back some of the money that you got from it.
You want to know what the real kicker is? Alice Madness Returns, the sequel. You can hop on Steam right now and pay $10 to get it. But you can't get the original on Steam.
Can't get the original on Steam.
Nope.
You know where you can get it, though?
Through
Yo
GameStop.
ho, yo ho, a pirate's life for me.
So, like...
Now I'm singing Disney songs. Now Disney's coming after me. Look at that.
So, because of that, though, like, it's just seems so counterproductive because they're losing out on this money that they could just quickly port to modern day stores, make some quick money off of it, and I feel like it's minimal effort on their part.
It's so strange to me that this even has to be a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have these games, you have you have people who want to play them.
I'm one of those people.
And you're not making them available, but then you're going out there and you're punishing the people who are finding ways to make it available.
Mm-hmm.
It's silly. It's silly to me.
We want to protect this IP and not let people use it, but we also don't want to make it available for other people to use.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing?
That's why if I were to ever become a government official, the law I would pass is I would pass a new public domain law regarding video games. So, you ready for this?
Tell me about it, Senator Garrett.
All right. So I would pass a law stating that if a video game is 25, it has been 25 years since the video game has been given a modern or a more recent way for you to play it, it becomes available and not illegal to emulate or download or play that game until you re-release it. And then once you re-release it, there's a 3-month grace period after the release.
If I became a government official, I would cast the law that said every Tuesday is now Taco Tuesday officially.
I think most of the world follows it. Well, most of the US follows that anyway. So.
Yeah, but like if I made it like an official thing, I'd be a hero.
Yeah, true. But like something like that, I feel like could be a win-win because not only does that give people a way to play these old obscure games that are in limbo for, legal reasons, like people aren't even sure who owns the rights anymore. Like if they're in limbo, they then have a way to play it. But on the other side, it also encourages companies to maintain re-releases where they won't have to worry about that. For example, Nintendo, they wouldn't have to worry about people being able to legally obtain Ocarina of Time outside of their control because they're always re-releasing it. Or like, same with Super Mario 64. If they're commonly doing it and doing it for beloved games, and then what that then leaves is it leaves the company in a position where they either feel like it's not worth it and leave it alone and let those few people play it legally through emulation and stuff, or if they feel like it is worth it, they then re-release it as a port or something new, and then people have a new, easier way to play it.
You know what else that would do? That would be a heck of a market research. Because now you're saying, oh, these are the games that people are emulating the most. I'm going to re-release this now, and now there's an official and easy way to play it that makes sense.
Yeah, and thus a ton of people want to start playing it.
And that's it. Yeah, part of the unique way we recorded this was the ending bit is just gone. Which isn't ideal, I admit, but you know what? This was seriously one of the funnest episodes I had anyway, and I hope that at some point we could do another in-person recording because this was kind of a blast. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the episode. Wise words of wisdom. I'll go ahead and just take it. I think the wise words of wisdom today is feel free to try new things, or try the old thing you've been doing in a new way. Because you see so many different things and different ways to interpret the same old routines you've been doing when you just try to hit it from a different angle. And that's really the big lesson that I learned from this episode. So, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.